welcome to another video on relative elasticity, specifically PED. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe on the channel below if you'd like to receive more notifications and get those theory videos, past paper videos straight to your feed. Currently releasing one each day. Relative PED elasticity is, I think, a really tricky concept to understand and not jump to conclusions thinking that you kind of understand it, but you know, when you try and explain it in an essay, you realize, oh, actually I don't really have the tools to explain it. So this is for maybe the students that want to get that depth, they want to get those really advanced grades and are really looking to refine their knowledge as much as possible. So relative elasticity here I've got means comparing the PED of good A to the PED of good B given a price change. So let's take a look. We say if the PED of good A is higher always than the PED of good B, we say A is relatively more price elastic than good B. And if the PED of good A is always lower than the PED of good B, we say that B is relatively more price inelastic. So what's going on in this picture? Let's take a look. So I've got the equation of PED written there in blue. So I've got PED is the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. And just to help you recap how that is actually calculated, you take the quantity percentage change divided by the percentage change in price, and you work these out by doing Q2 minus Q1 divided by Q1 times by 100, or new minus old divided by the old one times by 100. So that's a bit of revision. We're going to use this equation to see how it links up. And here on the right, I've got a graph with good B in green and good A in pink already drawn. And I've deliberately designed this example to make it as easy as possible to see what's going on mathematically. So I've deliberately designed good B and good A to face the exact same percentage change. So both goods face the exact percentage change in price. How do I know that? Because the price is going from 3 to 1 for both goods. So that would be a minus 67% change in price. I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to write that down because I actually don't really need to. So if you look at this graph, everything is the same. Absolutely everything is the same. And I need to emphasize this because it's going to be really important. So the same, P1 is the same, P2 is the same, Q1 is the same. The only thing that's different is the elasticity of the graphs. So I've held everything else constant. That ceteris paribus assumption is here. The only thing that's changing is the gradient of these curves. Okay, so it turns out that for this change in price from this 3 to 1, good B has gone from quantity 1 to quantity 2. It's changed by a little bit. And at the same time, in my pink color, good A has gone from the same quantity, because I made it this way by design. But for price 1, suddenly it sells a lot more. There's more demand, way more demand than good B. So it's responded a lot more strongly to quantity. And we know that's going to make it more elastic from the work probably that you've done in school. But let's see how can we actually prove it? How can we explain that to somebody? Because ultimately, if you want to prove it, you have to link it back to the PED equation. And I haven't talked anything about the PED equation yet. So you haven't really explained this if you just talk about the quantity being higher than the other one. So the way I go about it is I say, okay, percentage change in quantity is this. It's the exact same thing that you've seen before. Q2 minus Q1 divided by Q1. And as you can see on the graph above, they have the same initial Q1 for both the curves. So good B, good A, they've got the same Q1. The only thing that differs, and this is what you could say in kind of your responses, the only thing that differs in their percentage change in quantity is Q2, because they started from the same Q1. And then here I go, okay, so since the Q2 of good B was a lot lower, remember we said it didn't respond by very much, the Q2 of good B was 2, which is smaller than the Q2 of good A, which is 4. Then I know, because putting it back into that percentage change equation, if I put in a smaller number at the top, that's going to lead to the percentage change in quantity demanded for good B to be lower. But this time the difference is you've actually been able to explain how the quantity change is causing a different percentage change, and you can prove it because they've got the same Q1 and the same P1. And once we have proven that the percentage change in quantity demanded for good B is lower than for good A, then we can put it back into the PED equation, right? So we're explaining every single step, guiding the reader back to the original PED equation to actually be able to link it and prove it to them. So now we say, okay, now we know that this percentage change in quantity demanded, this thing is going to be smaller. So then the whole PED value is going to be smaller because everything else is the same. This is again larger. And that's enough to say, therefore, that good B is relatively more inelastic. We use the word relatively, that's really important. I'll do a video on this one soon, but it's relatively more inelastic than good A for a given price change. You could also phrase it the other way around, and that's fine. You could say good A is relatively more elastic than good B. And a word of warning, it doesn't actually mean that good A and good B are actually going to be elastic or actually going to be inelastic. Just to recap, I mean, this is a good B. Did you know that the first half of this is going to be elastic? And the second half of this one is going to be inelastic? And at the same time, imagine if I have good A again. The first half will still be elastic, and the second half will still be inelastic. So you've got to have kind of both truths kind of in your mind at the same time, that B is relatively inelastic compared to A, or A is relatively elastic compared to B, meaning it's less responsive in quantity for a change in price. But it's always elastic and then inelastic depending on where you are on the demand curve. So more on that another time. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or any other queries, and I'll have a go at making another video on that. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this was useful. Bye!